Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
And this is Big Geek Kumar. How you doing, bro?
I am I'm doing well. I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well too. I'm excited to be here. There's a lot of geeky shit that's been happening, like a lot. And unfortunately, to all of our fans, we're sorry we had to miss last week. There was a lot of conflict scheduling issues as well. I guess life was just like
Did you
taken
guys miss
over.
last week? I thought.
I couldn't make it.
Oh, right. So yeah, so I've really been away because I couldn't make it the week after that or the week before that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We've had some life hit us, and
mhm.
unfortunately, while life was hitting us, all the geeky shit was happening to everybody else. So like we couldn't. Unfortunately, we're missing our bro Darcy today. We wish him well, but like we'll hopefully catch him next week.
Mhm.
And but we gotta talk about some of this stuff. So shall we jump in, bro?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first bit of our massive chunk that we will not be able to cover all in this episode. The first is the release of the trailer Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, which is of course the sequel to the 1980s film Beetlejuice, starring of course our beloved Michael Keaton, aka Batman. So this was not a surprise, though the fact that this trailer came out was a bit of a surprise because I wasn't anticipating it. And while so I had heard a little bit about the production aspect of this film, I kind of lost track of it. So watching the trailer was a nice like a refreshing thing for me. Uh I'll just jump in that like when I watched the trailer, I was like, first of all, I should say this is a teaser trailer.
Mhm.
We're not getting a lot of information, but we're getting a lot of images of people involved, and we got our obviously we have Michael Keaton back as Beetlejuice, and he like showed up at the end, which I gotta say, the moment he showed up, I had a big ass smile on my face.
The juice
Uh,
is loose.
yeah. Oh man, I am looking forward to seeing him again, and that is literally the only reason I'm going to go see this movie. But also, we got Winona Ryder back as Lydia, and Catherine O'Hara back as her mom. But one thing I actually forgot is Jenna Ortega is in the movie. I'm assuming she's playing Winona Ryder's daughter.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, so like that is literally all I know of the movie. And then watching the trailer, I was happy with it. I have an I wouldn't say I have an excitement for it, but I have an interest for it. However, that interest kind of got marred after I watched the trailer, but that we'll get to that later. But I want to pass it to you, T. What did you think of the Beetlejuice trailer?
Well, first and foremost, like, what did you like? Were you a fan of the original movie? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Um, I found the original movie is fun. I really enjoyed that movie. I've seen it a couple of times. I haven't seen it in a long time since then,
yeah,
but
same.
I remember quite a few scenes in the movie, and I remember having a good time watching it. Um, I totally forgot that this movie was coming out, so it kind of caught me off guard when you guys posted the trailer, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right, Beetlejuice is coming out, and this year, which is interesting." Because I don't know if is it just me or I find that a lot of movies are being well, I mean you're more in the know how in regards to like movies coming out than I am, but I just find like for example, I knew Bad Boys 4 was coming out, but I didn't know it was coming out this year. And then same with The Crow and everything and whatnot. But like it seems like they're just like dropping movies left, right, and center under the radar, which
You
is
know why
interesting
though, right?
because of the is it because of the strike?
Yeah,
Okay, that
a
makes
lot
sense.
of these things were put on hold because of the strike. So like they're just like our June is going to be insane for us. Like I don't
Yeah.
like our podcast is going to be stuffed.
So here's my problem with that though now, because I've so far a lot of the movies that have come out now, and I haven't seen every single movie that's been released in the last couple of months, but so far a lot of the movies that have come out haven't been getting really good reviews. Like the trailers always look really really good, but then you go and you look at the reviews and it's like everyone is like pretty much like tanking, like in regards to like the how well they're doing and stuff. So
I would say that, like, based off the things that I know in terms of movies, they have either, like you say, tanked, or they're like lukewarm. Very few are like, oh shit, we got to watch it.
yeah, but a lot of these are like big heavy hitters, and you're like you would expect them to do a lot better. And I feel like has the quality of movies gone down? It kind of worries me a little bit. But
I would
anyway,
say this is kind of it's difficult to gauge because, like, TV shows and movies always suffer when there's a writer's strike. It's
mhm,
really good shows get canceled, good movies lose a momentum. The problem is, because everything is put to a halt,
mhm.
people have to make shift to fix everything.
Fair. That makes sense. So, with all that being said, now, while I am excited for, well, I wouldn't say excited, but I am more curious because I know we all know Michael Keaton's gonna body this. No matter how bad the script is, Michael Keaton is Michael Keaton, right?
Look how
So
good he was in The Flash.
yeah, so he's gonna bring his A game and he's gonna deliver. I feel like it's gonna be like he never left the set from the 80s. You know what I mean? So
You know that's right.
at 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 the very least, we're gonna get a great performance out of Michael Keaton. In terms of the actual script as a whole, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen a Tim Burton movie, so I don't know how well. I don't know if he still got it. I don't know if he could still deliver on the same caliber as like that of Batman '89 or even Beetlejuice from the '80s. So I'm reserving judgment until at least see another trailer. But even then, I can't even rely on trailers anymore. Sadly, like trailers often, and we're gonna get into this, of course, with Roadhouse, but um, trailers often are a lot more appealing visually than the actual movie ends up being, and it becomes a little bit of a letdown. So I don't know. I guess I just have to reserve judgment until I actually see the movie and then actually make a final decision. But I'm gonna check it out. I'm a fan of Michael Keaton. I like his work. I like him as an actor. I think he's gonna do a great job. I like Jenna Ortega. I think she's great and a lot of the stuff that she's been in. And this is kind of like right up her alley in terms of a lot of the movie choices that she's been kind of embarking
Absolutely.
on lately. So it actually makes sense for her to be in this movie. And it's good to see Winona Ryder come back to the role and her mom.
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine, yeah, yeah. I always just Home Alone's mom. Yeah.
Or
uh,
Schitt's Creek mom.
I never watched Schitt's Creek, so I only know her from Home Alone.
Actually,
Um,
yeah, she's been like the mom for like everything, like whether it's Schitt's Creek, Home Alone, or Beetlejuice.
yeah, yeah. Um,
The
but yeah,
eternal matriarch.
I'm curious. I'll say that.
So, okay, this is me going, okay, look, my man has not missed a step in the you're right, it literally could be the next film. Okay,
Yeah.
so going back to what you said about not knowing how, like, Tim Burton's quality, I have found Tim Burton's quality dropped heavily in the
Mm.
last few years. The problem, and building on another thing that you said, the writing for this movie scares the shit out of me
Why's that?
because it's the same people who wrote Smallville.
Interesting. Okay.
I think one of them also wrote for Wednesday. So, like, maybe he learned something.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's been years in Smallville, man. I mean, like you would think that a person would like improve on their craft after so many years, right?
well, he also did Into the Badlands and Charlie's Angels and
Which one?
the TV series.
There was a Charlie's Angels TV series? Like, are you talking
Yes,
about the
it did.
original or?
No. The like it was like ages ago. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, 2011. It lasted 8 episodes.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, he did Wednesday also, but it's like Smallville. I know he did the unaired pilot for Aquaman, with Alan Richardson. And
No, you mean not? It wasn't Al. It was the dude from This Is Us, the blonde dude. Alan
yes.
Richardson
You're yeah. Yes.
He played it in Smallville, and then they got the Green Arrow guy to Justin Hartley or something like
Justin
that.
Hartley, yeah. Sorry. Yes, you're right. Justin Hartley, yeah. Okay, so okay. Nonetheless, not a great track record. And he's like with the other people from Smallville, they're the ones writing it, and Tim Burton, who in my opinion has lost a step or two. So I'm a little worried. But at the same time, I won't see Michael Keaton.
Yeah, like I feel like he's going into a little bit of a resurgence. I mean, he got a chance to replay Batman. Now he's getting a chance to play Beetlejuice again.
He got to play Batman again at the Oscars.
Yeah, he got to play Batman in the finished but never released Batgirl movie. He was going to be old man Bruce Wayne in a potential Batman Beyond movie. So yeah, Hollywood has been screwing this man over left, right, and center. But he's
seriously.
He's still killing it, and he's still giving like a great performance in everything that he does. So
yeah,
if anything, we will watch and we will enjoy it for him and for the rest of the cast. And let's just hope that it's decent.
Fun.
Like, I mean, it's one might argue, is it like, are we too late? Is this just like too late to see a movie like this?
No, because like we have been getting a lot of like retro films and shows kind of like making comebacks. Like, I mean, like again, like we're gonna get to it, but Roadhouse is kind of like
an
element, and X-Men, which we'll also be getting to in this.
Yes.
But like I would say like now's the time to make these attempts. At the same time, like that doesn't mean you can just like bank on the old like crew and not like having a good writing.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like we shall see. We're definitely going to watch it for Michael Keaton and also Winona Ryder and also Catherine O'Hara and also Jenna Ortega. I heard they're getting her dad in it, who was also like the principal from Ferris Bueller's Days Off.
Yeah, but I heard isn't he
a
in a little
offender.
bit? Yeah, I was like,
they're gonna keep him. He was someone you could recast
or just kill off screen.
That too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, cool. Anyway, so like,
you hear about that Nickelodeon scandal? Like the
what? Okay. I don't even know the shows they're talking about, but like just reading about what the documentary is going to be about, I was like, damn.
Yeah, man. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's out yet, but yeah, man, Hollyweird be on some shit.
I mean, it's good that we're finally learning just how much pedophilia is rampant in Hollywood, like as opposed to being like isolated incidences. But at the same time, like Jesus.
But I mean, look how long it took for that to come out, man.
Know.
Like these poor kids, like, and it's
I
feel I had this conversation with, I can't remember who it was, but it was like, I feel like, and we don't actually even know, but I feel like Hilary Duff is the only one who went unscathed. Like, I feel like to a certain extent, all the other, like Amanda Bynes, like all of them, man, like
apparently, like the reason why Amanda Bynes has quote unquote gone crazy is because she's still dealing with all the trauma she went through. And I'm like, because everyone's like, oh, she went crazy because like the fame went to her head. It's like, nah, shit happened to her.
Yeah, at such a young age, man. Come on.
Yeah.
That'll really mess you up. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we
got yeah. So moving on to our next topic, which on the topic of Batman / Michael Keaton, even though it's not going to be him, the trailer for The Batman with Robert Pattinson's The Batman, the TV series, the trailer for the TV series The Penguin released also, with our most beloved and amazingly like camouflaged actor Colin Farrell portraying the Penguin again. Like the acting and the prosthetics department, like The combination makes him unrecognizable. Even in this photo, I can barely see him in it. But yeah, so the trailer dropped this past week. T, what were your thoughts on the trailer?
So John Campea had compared this in terms of feel and the in regards to the atmosphere and the overall look to that of like The Sopranos.
I can
I
see that.
never watched The Sopranos, but
Nor have I.
I mean, I understand the reference. So watching this trailer, okay, so you know how I feel about how, like I've said this before, how I like it when villains steal the show. I don't like when villains become the show.
Yeah.
And I very much feel the same way about this. That being said, I could change my mind. My mind could be subject to change, but as of right now, I can't say that I'm overly hyped about this because we're most likely not going to see Batman show up in this, and if we do, it's probably going to be at the end, and it's going to be like a brief cameo, if that. And I'm just like, Batman has such an extensive and interesting rogues gallery, but I feel like part of what makes them interesting is the fact that they have Batman as an opposing force kind of thing, right? And I don't know if I'd be interested enough to see a show just solely based on villains. I mean, I feel like we got that with Gotham to an extent, and I kind of jumped ship from Gotham after like the first season. I was just like, yeah, this is not for me.
Too.
Like, I don't want to watch a show without Batman that's rooted in the Batman lore. Now, on the other side of my opinion on this, I compare it to that of the Continental, the John Wick spinoff, which I didn't think that I was going to enjoy because I'm like, well, if John Wick's not in this, then why do I care? Point? Like, what do I like? Yeah, I don't want to watch a show about Winston. Like, no thanks. But I ended up checking it out, and I'm like, okay, this is actually enjoyable. I had a good time with this, especially like the last episode. I think there was only 3 episodes, but the each episode's fairly lengthy. I saw the reviews, and not everyone agrees. Like there's a lot of people that said it was kind of like a boring show and everything. So it's like kind of like it's a mixed bag there. But I personally enjoyed it. So who knows? Maybe I might enjoy this. I'm definitely gonna give it a chance. But I mean, I'm not holding my breath or anything. I don't know. I especially when it comes to Batman. Like, you know how I feel about Batman, and I'm like, I want to see more of Batman. I wanted to see. I heard, I don't know if this is true, but at one point they were planning on doing like an Arkham series.
Yeah,
and apparently Batman was going to show up in that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm all for that. I would have liked it to be a movie instead of a TV show, but that I think could be interesting, like being locked in Arkham and having to deal with like the inmates, and they're kind of like very reminiscent of like Arkham Asylum, the video game.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of meh on it right now, but who knows? My opinion might be swayed once I see it.
Okay. So for me, I would say that I was intrigued with the trailer. I wouldn't say I'm like sold on it, but like I am intrigued. Again, this is a teaser trailer for an 8-episode TV series, which I hope is a mini series. I hope it's like one and done sort of thing. I am with you when it comes to villain-centric movies and shows. I agree with your position that I like the villain to be the soul of the movie or the story. I don't want him to be the main point. Having said that, the Penguin is a villain, but he's also been someone who is kind of like middle ground lately, where he is someone who the Batman and Nightwing and everyone goes to for information, and he is also helping the criminals, or that's how he's been like for a while. So the idea of doing a gangster film or gangster series set in Gotham, it makes sense that you have the Penguin because he's not inherently villainous. Like I know in the show Gotham, they made him out to be a psychopath, but like in the Batman, we saw Colin Farrell being more of a gangster who just wants respect. And also, given like I know that from the cast list, or should I say the character list, because I know some of the cast members, not all of them, but the character list really gives me Batman Dark Victory vibes. It was the comic that was a sequel to The Long Halloween, which I know you've read.
Yes, I have.
Yes. So it was essentially the sequel to that, where like now that Carmen Falcone is out of the picture, there was a kind of a vacuum that his kids tried to take over from, and also that like Salvatore Maroni was trying to do that. By the way, Clancy Brown, aka the voice of Lex Luthor from Superman and JLU, he's going to be a Salvatore Maroni.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also the daughter of Falcone, which was played by John Turturro, she's going to be playing a main role in the series, and basically is going to be fighting against Penguin. So, from a story aspect, I do find this to be interesting because it's like I see this as setting up for the next Batman movie if they do it right, where it's like we see how the ground is laid, so that in the next movie, Matt Reeves can just like jump off from right over there, being like, "Okay, all this shit went down in the Penguin. Batman was dealing with other stuff. We don't know what it is, and then he comes back, and the crime Penguin is set up. The crime situation is set up, and Batman has to like deal with all these guys." I'm like you. If Robert Pattinson makes like cameos in like let's say like 3 episodes of the 8, that would be interesting because it's like it kind of like what happened in like for the first half of Assault on Arkham, where Batman is like something in the air that everyone's afraid of. It's like we ain't afraid of the cops, but we're afraid of Batman. So they're actually going out of their way to stay under the radar. And if they have like one episode for like one scene where Batman shows up and fucks up everything, I'll be like, okay, that gave me what I wanted. But I don't think they're going to do that. And I do like gangster films, and I mean Penguin and the Falcone family battle would be a fascinating thing. But like I like you. I want Batman in the middle of that. I don't want him out of the picture. So I will see how things are done. And like you, we will see how things go. Now, for the director of like most of the episodes, I trust him. Like he's done some really good shows. Like he did I know he did a couple episodes of Westworld. I know he was in The Leftovers. I know he did a couple episodes of American Gods, and there was a recent one that he did Mayor of Easttown, which was a Kate Winslet show.
I haven't watched any of those.
I guess I know.
Yeah.
But my point is, these are not like small, low time things that people didn't notice and people thought it was like people just didn't care about. This was some good shit. So if he's directing, I trust that. Now I don't know who the writer is, so that's kind of up in the air for me.
It's the same dude that wrote Smallville. No, I'm
don't do that, man. I'm so glad I'm starting to just barely tell when you're lying. My heart sank. You have no idea. Okay, yeah. So, yeah.
Could you imagine? Like, yo, that dude's getting a lot of work.
I can also imagine like the guy who's like directing it is like, I'm trying to. This is what I'm supposed to work with. How am I supposed to do a good job? So, like, I don't know. Like, I will. Well, actually, let me just quickly check. Okay, Lorna. So this person wrote a couple of episodes, 48 episodes of Agents of Shield, and 13 episodes of Chuck, and 13 episodes of Hemlock Grove.
Hmm.
Hemlock Grove. That sounds familiar. I can't remember, but anyway. So I would say that this person isn't completely useless. Like those are passable shows in some fashion. So nonetheless, we shall see how this goes. I will say that it's not inherently something that I want to have, but the trailer didn't dissuade me from checking it out. Are you willing to give it one episode?
No, I'll stick to my rule and give it 3 episodes.
Okay, that's very generous.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I'm starting to decrease the amount of episodes I'm willing to give.
I mean, because I find that 3 episodes is a good number to shoot for, because that's usually when like things start to pick up and you can determine whether or not this story is like this show is going to be for you.
Okay. I'm glad to hear it.
Like if it doesn't grip me by the 3rd episode, then like I'm just like, yeah, I know, I'm jumping ship. This is trash.
When did you drop out of Moon Knight?
I mean, I stuck with it just because because I know that was going to be a hot topic on the podcast for a while, and I didn't want to be like the only one just kind of like twiddling my thumbs and be like, okay, like when are we changing subjects here? So I stuck with it for how many episodes are there in total? Like 8?
I would say 8, yeah.
So I probably got to about like 6 episodes, and then
okay,
so kind of like.
Yeah, so that's like a fair amount on your part. Like that's well past your 3 episodes.
I committed against my better judgment, and yeah, it's time I'll never get back.
Oh,
and now I have Disney Plus, and I've been tempted to just like check out like the last couple episodes that I haven't seen, but then I'm just like, why bother? Like this whole phase has kind of gone up in flames anyway. So like,
I would say the only plus would be to see the performances, not the story.
I mean, I saw a bit of like the final fight, and I was just kind of like,
I mean, can you call that a final fight when like no one actually saw the fight?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, wasn't for me. Was not for me.
All right. Moving on to our next topic, which is going to be one of our big discussion topics. Now, I am sure our listeners and viewers have at least heard of this show.
Don't assume, man. You shouldn't assume that.
I don't know, like maybe not this particular show, but definitely its prequel, as it is or I should say the first part. But nonetheless, we are going to start covering the episodic releases of X-Men 97, which is being released on Disney Plus at present. Now, for those of you who don't know, and honestly, I can't imagine anyone who is watching this that doesn't know, but X-Men 97 is an animated television series that has been, so like the first 3 episodes have been released over the span of 2 weeks. This is essentially a continuation of the X-Men animated series that ran in the 90s. Hence why it's called 97. Because the first one ended at 96, I am assuming. The first series was a incredibly beloved animated series, and the people at Marvel decided that we should, instead of making another remake of the X-Men cartoons, which I think there were like 3 since that series was released.
Yeah,
they decided
Evolution, and then like Wolverine and the X-Men.
X-Men, yeah. So this time they're like, actually, let's revisit the old thing. And this goes back to what you were saying about that now is the time where people are getting very nostalgic and definitely trying to cash grab on the nostalgia. So this series pretty much picks off right where the last one ended, which was the loss of Professor Xavier. Now, the trailer made it seem like he died, when in reality, he was taken to space by his alien girlfriend. So he's no longer, Professor Xavier is not in this. And what it shows is how mutants and also the X-Men themselves are dealing with the loss of their mentor. T, have you watched the third episode yet?
I have, of course.
All right.
No
So
question is this.
well, just making sure, because I'm gonna do a last minute change to our agenda, and instead of reviewing the first 2 episodes, I say we review the first 3.
Let's do it.
Okay. So T, based off what you've watched from episodes 1 to 3, how has this continuation of the animated series made you feel? And also, what would you rate the series so far out of 10? And what would you rate each episode out of 10?
Oh, 8.9 out of 10.
Overall?
8.9 out of 10 overall so far.
Damn.
And I shot that from the hip too, so like
that was you. I don't think you've ever hit something that fast, but damn, okay.
Yeah, bro. And here's why. Because in the 90s, for whatever reason, I just was not big on the X-Men. I mean, I saw a couple episodes here and there. I was obviously familiar with the X-Men.
Really?
I just never really got into the show on a deep level. I was more, and I think maybe it was just because like I had ADHD, and there was like around that time there was like other shows that were coming on at the same time. Like you had like YTV, and then you had Fox Kids, and like shows, and you had to like pick and choose, and like you had to like have like that button that like go to the previous channel, and like during the commercial of one,
the jump button.
So you'd have to like flip back and forth, and it was like so much anxiety, man. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing a big story arc right now, but I gotta choose this over the other. So yeah, there's just way too much stress. So I was like, whatever came on at the same time as X-Men, I definitely chose the other show, whatever that was. So
okay, was it that you just weren't fucking with it, or that like it just was that you liked other things more?
I think it was the latter. I think I just liked other things more, and at the time I didn't appreciate. I felt like there were so many characters to love and like to like get introduced to and like build off of, that it's just like it was like there's just so much going on for my little like child mind to comprehend. I'm like, I can't keep up with all these characters, man. I just want one character, Spider-Man or Batman. Like, just stick to one. Like, I don't want a whole school of these motherfuckers, right? So yeah, I think I just kind of chose whatever was on at the time. And so I just wasn't really into X-Men like that. I wasn't really vibing with it until they came out with like the first X-Men live action movie. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And granted, back then we didn't have a big sample size of live action superhero movies, right? I think, did X-Men come first or did Spider-Man come? Was Spider-Man the one that paved kind of
No, X-Men came first.
Okay, so then imagine like your excitement as like a young teen, and like an X-Men live action movie comes out, and it's like, okay, we've been waiting for this since like the last like Batman movie, which is Batman and Robin, right? So obviously
Blade.
Okay, yeah, Blade. So yeah, you jump ship. I feel like though with Blade, like even though like yeah, it's a Marvel thing, they didn't treat it as like
fair.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, I wasn't really vibing with the X-Men until the live action movie came out, and then obviously we know that they kind of didn't hold up as more movies came out.
They weren't consistent.
Yeah. And then you kind of just forgot about it. And then they did X-Men Evolution, which I actually did start watching more of, and I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed that show a lot. And then they canceled it. And then they came out with Wolverine and the X-Men.
Actually, X-Men Evolution ran for like 4 seasons.
Yeah, but they never finished it, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember in the last season, Gambit shows up, and then like they don't really continue. Yeah, like they start they start teasing like Rogue and Gambit's relationship, but then they never take it anywhere, and then like it just ends, and you're like, what the heck? And so
Because Wolverine and the X-Men did get canceled after one season, and that was a good ass season.
I actually never got into that show. So yeah, so I think I watched maybe one episode, and I was like, I'm kind of over the X-Men now. And then yeah, I don't know what the hate was with X-Men, to be honest, but yeah, I just wasn't vibing with them. And then I found out that this was coming out, and then I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't call myself a big X-Men
I remember.
fan. So I remember.
Like, yeah, that's why I was surprised with the 8.9.
Yeah, so I wasn't super excited about it, and then we saw the trailer, and I was like, oh, the animation looks kind of off. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it looks weird. And then
Michael Bolton.
And then after that, I thankfully, and then I was like, okay, well, I don't have Disney Plus anyway. I was using, for those who don't know, I was using Umar's Disney Plus account because he's a good Samaritan like that. And then Disney Plus came out with this whole rule, like, oh, you can't share accounts, otherwise the account owner is gonna have to pay and everything. So I was like, all right, fine. And then Kudo hit me up with this like 3-pack bundle where they're like, yo, you can get Prime, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and Netflix all for the price of $15. And I was like, bet, I'm definitely getting on that.
That's like $5 per platform.
Yeah. So I was like, shit, okay. So then, long story shorter, I start watching X-Men. I decided to just randomly check out the first episode, and I'm like, yo, like, how is it? I don't remember it being this good. And I'm like, no. I'm like, this is probably just like this is just a farce. This is not actually real. So let me give it a let me give it a second episode. Let me watch the second episode. And I'm like, oh shit, the second episode is bodying the first episode, and I love the first episode. And then I'm like, okay, third episode, they're not gonna get me. They're not gonna get me. So then but now I find myself, I'm like waiting. I'm like, yo, when does it actually come out? So I'm like checking on Monday. I'm like, oh, it's the new episode's not out yet. Damn. And then I'm checking Tuesday. It's like, it's still not out. And then I think it comes out Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday.
So I finally check it out on Wednesday, or no, yesterday. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm all the way in, man. This show is fantastic. I love it. And this is coming from a person who is not really like into X-Men like that. This show is like, I'm like hyped to see the fourth episode now. I'm like, Wednesday can't come fast enough. Like, and I'm like, I'm actually an X-Men fan now. It's crazy.
Yo,
it's that good. I'm not even bullshitting. Like, this show is fantastic. Like, I don't know if I was just too feeble as a kid to like really appreciate it, or they're really stepping up their game. And I mean, you would know more than I would, Umar. Like, what is your overall?
Okay. So before we come to my thing, I do need to ask. Now that you've seen the X-Men cartoon, I should say, what are your thoughts on two characters specifically? Actually, no, sorry, three characters specifically. 1, Cyclops. 2, Magneto. And 3, Storm.
Okay, so first I'm going to answer Elliot's his last question. So I actually didn't go back and watch that's a good question, because there's a lot of trust me, there's a lot of episodes I did not see. So I needed a lot of context. I didn't even know that Professor X was sick or like on his deathbed, to be honest. That was news to me. And so I just went on YouTube and I watched like I think it was like a 20-minute like recap of the entire series as a whole, and it kind of filled in a lot of the gaps and stuff like that. So then I was like, okay, I get the general gist of what happened to these characters, and then I kind of just dived right in, and I wasn't really lost. I kind of picked up and was okay. So if you do that, then you'll be fine. You don't have to go back and watch the entire series. But now to answer your question, Umar, what do I think of Cyclops? I honestly, initially, I thought that he was a boring character back in the day. Even in the movies, he's just like super lame. Like they did him dirty. He's like he was like the Leonardo of the group, as a Ninja Turtle reference. Yeah. and I know he's great as a character overall. It was just like this man just had no personality. And even Wolverine was like, there was like someone made a compilation on YouTube of like all the times that Wolverine punked this guy, and I'm like, this is our leader. Like, he's getting punked by a 5'3" dude. Like, so I was like, nah, man, this he ain't the dude. This guy, nah. But in this, especially in that first episode, yo, he was bodying dudes, like doing stuff like when he did the whole thing with his lasers to move out the way. I was like, yo, I've never seen that before. So yeah, he does some like slick shit in this that it's gonna blow your mind. Like, you're just like, yo, I can't wait for this dude to let loose. So yeah, Cyclops is definitely growing on me, and I think they're giving him a lot more personality and a little bit more depth in regards to his character. He's not as, and even in the third episode, like like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he's conflicted like they don't dwell on it very long because the whole thing kind of gets resolved near the end. But he's actually, no, it's not really resolved because, like, did you
finish the episode?
No, I totally forgot. So yeah, he's a bit conflicted for two reasons. And I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but you're just like, damn, like, you just became a dad. And now you're not. So I mean, you technically are, but not really. But anyway, yeah. So Cyclops there's a lot more depth in his character, and he's a lot more intriguing to me. The next one is Magneto. Man, Magneto is a piece of work in this. Like, he has this one line. Oh, I don't want to butcher it, but he does something, and
bro, I think you can give spoilers now.
He's okay, so he's turned a new leaf, right? So he's trying to be on the side of good now because it's Professor Xavier's not dying wish, but his like his will, yeah. So Magneto ends up taking over the role of Professor Xavier and overseeing the X-Men. But then at some point he's brought in and he's to stand trial for all of the crazy shit that he's done over the past however long the original series went on for. And then the hearing gets interrupted by what's that the name of the
executioner group? He's a friend of humanity. They basically they reference the January 6th insurrection with the Friends of Humanity.
So then so now a fight ensues among the X-Men, and Magneto takes some of the board members up into like pretty much almost like space, essentially. And you're like, oh man, like, is he only good for one episode and then he's just gonna do some like fuckery, like drop these fools? But he basically extends an olive branch, and he's just like, I'm trying to be good. Don't. What was the line? It was like,
don't make me let you down.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, that's the most gangster shit I've ever heard in a cartoon series. I was like, yo, that's crazy. So yeah, Magneto is very interesting. I'm also very curious as to like what's going on with him and Rogue, because like they're alluding to some like, and I know I heard in the comics that they had a brief relationship. So
that's why, like, when Ian McKellen and Anna Paquin got cast, everyone's like, please don't let that happen, because that's just gross. And
so when I saw that, I thought back to the lot. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. So yeah, so there's some kind of thing going on with well, we don't know, but I mean they're laying it on very thick and alluding to the fact that maybe there's something going on between Rogue and Magneto. And obviously Gambit's not, he's being very chill about it. I would have kind of been like, I would have stepped in at that point and been like, yo, I don't care if you can move metal, bro. You're gonna get these cards, yo. Like, what's up? What's up?
They're not dating though.
Get what? Gambit
and Rogue aren't dating.
What? Are you sure?
They're still in their will they, won't they vibe.
But is it only because like she can't technically do anything with him?
She's like, she also doesn't know she can trust him because he's like flirting with everybody. Like, yo, some of the comments he had in the like 90s TV series, they are like violations of HR.
Oh, okay. Then dude needs to chill then. Okay. I didn't
A
know
little
that.
bit, yeah.
So yeah, I'm loving Magneto so far.
You love his outfit too?
Nah, I'm not fucking with the outfit. that shit that shit looks whack. I'm like, I don't like what happened to his other suit. Like, is it because
that was his villain suit?
Yo, then he needs to step his shit up, bro. Because
you don't like his hero outfit?
What the fuck is that, man? Drawn on M like it. Nah, that ain't
okay.
It.
I will say it is a comic accurate for when at that time.
Man, I don't give a fuck. It still looks trash. Like.
So like for those of you Darcy who's not with us today, he sent me a message, basically a video of him like saying like, yo, I'm loving this episode, but I cannot with this guy's outfit. Like this is trash. And like I was like waiting to see if Tactics would feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know where he found that suit, but he needs to return it and get a refund because that shit is whack as fuck.
All right, to quickly answer Elliot's question, the voice actors, like I would say about half of the original voice actors have returned. And I would say all voice actors are doing a good job. So like voice acting is not a problem on this front. Like everyone is doing a good job. And now, sorry to interrupt you, T, you were saying about Storm.
Oh yeah. So I had no idea that Storm was a what do you call them? Like
Omega level
mutant. And I was like, okay, every villain in this show is in trouble if Storm is part of the X-Men and is on the side of good. And then what do? They fucking nerf her by getting, like, she gets shot by this thing that strips away all your powers. Now she has no powers. And so she leaves the team. So it's like they just got rid of one black character. And then in the third episode, now Bishop, who I started to actually, because I remember you asked me, I'm like, what do you think of Bishop? And I was like, I didn't really know much about Bishop. I mean, I remember him from like Days of Future Past, the live action movie, but I didn't really remember. Yeah, I didn't really remember. Yeah, I didn't really remember. I knew of him. If you showed me a picture, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Bishop. I just didn't remember the extent. Him. I didn't remember the extent of his powers. And then in that third episode, you see him like wrecking fools, and you're like, oh man, I'm so glad this guy's part of the X-Men. And now he's gone.
Okay, I feel he will come back. And
I know both of them are gonna come back, but it's like, yo, why are you getting rid of all the colored people, man? Like, what's going on with that?
So Storm, okay, so basically everything that happened with Storm is also from the comics. My thing is do you mind if I jump in now?
Yeah, by all means, man, go for it.
Okay, so I'm loving X-Men 97 myself. Like this show.
What do you rate it?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Okay.
Because like honestly, I went into this series. Remember, I was saying I didn't feel the magic from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Then I watched the first episode, and I'm like, it's got some cool stuff, but it doesn't have like. It's a bit heavy-handed. I felt that it was kind of just like more action-y and just like trying to capture on the nostalgia. I did like a lot of the stuff with like some of the characters, but I was just like, I was just like, meh. But then I watched the second episode, and that second episode, like let's say the first episode is like this ninja that's like, I'm not even a ninja. It's like you're going up against an opponent, and this opponent is like, I'm hurt, man. Give me a second. And you're like, yeah, sure. And then the second episode, he pulls out a sledgehammer and knocks you across the face. That's how good the second episode was. It took me out. I was like, from beginning to end, I was like, and this is literally my face.
Yeah.
My partner had to be like, honey, can you close your mouth? I'm like,
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to drill on you there.
It went back like 2 minutes later, it opened back up. I was just like, I was a kid again. But like the writing, like I remember you messaged me, you're, bro, was the writing always this good? I'm like, nah.
Yeah,
nah.
I was like, what was I missing back in there? Why did I like what the hell? I'm like, I'm going back in my mind. I'm like, what was I watching that I decided not to watch X-Men if it was this good, if it was on this level of
you had Batman and Spider-Man competing with you on this. Like, come on. Like, if you had one channel or like two channels to work with, like, you don't got a lot of time. You chose what you had to choose.
Yeah.
But like, no, the writing for this is not meant for kids. It's meant for
especially that third episode. Holy.
Third episode went like anime manga style. I was like, I don't think kids could watch this.
No, not at all.
But like for me, what made me lose my mind, not only was the writing good, not only were the themes that they're bringing up good. Yeah, that was fucked up. Not only were all those things, the voice acting good, the action sequence is good, but like the references and the adaptations to the comics were gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you guys know me, I'm a comic books guy. So like when they adapt stuff and they adapt it well, I get a geekasm. This show is making me spray all over the bedroom.
Did not need to know that, but
I apologize. But nonetheless, you now are viscerally aware of just how good the show is, because like Magneto's his entire demeanor, like one of the things I loved about it was like in like the second episode in the beginning, like when they're all like the X-Men are like, yo, you were our biggest villain for the longest time. You can't expect us to just like overnight be okay with it. And he literally goes, yes, I understand that this is how you feel. And the fact that Storm, who is an Omega level mutant, is telling me that like this is a problem, I'm going to respectfully tell you I don't care, and I demand you trust me. And then like literally walks out of the room, and I'm like,
yep,
that's Magneto. That is like accurately Magneto. But also they're doing something that was supposed to happen in the comics for like long periods. Professor Xavier was meant to be written out, like out of the picture, off in space, come in for a cameo, that sort of thing. And Magneto was meant to be the new leader of the X-Men, and he was no longer supposed to be the main villain. Apocalypse was meant to be the main villain, and that's what Chris Claremont had like created the stage for. But then Marvel was like, yo, let's retcon all this, and it's like, okay, well, we'll make Magneto into an anti-hero, and then a couple of years later we'll make him a villain again, and then backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards.
Are you talking about in the comics?
In the comics. So like that, so now this show is like, okay, we're gonna just bring back what Claremont wanted to, because that's actually an interesting story. It's like, okay, so our villain turned anti-hero to a hero / weird hero.
It's like Zuko.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but the thing is, that doesn't mean he changes. He still has his arrogance. He still has his anger. And that's why the second episode is so great. Because like when Storm gets taken out, he literally loses his shit. And he's literally on the cusp of going back to who he was. It's like, okay, I am trying to be a good person, but you guys are not making it easy for me. And I know you don't like the outfit, but like as someone who like, I mean, I didn't like the outfit either when I was a kid, but I was like, it's interesting because I was a kid. And now I see him like pulling it off with his like Michael Bolton hair. I'm like, all right.
Yo, oh man.
But like, what I like is that even in the third episode, when they are,
bless me.
Excuse me again. When they're adapting the X-Men Inferno storyline, which was like multi-episode, like multi-comics long, which wasn't a great series. Like, to be honest, like the writer Chris Claremont was like, he's embarrassed about it. I would say that their adaptation fixes a lot of problems. Minus the whole Goblin Queen thing, because like in the comics, she actually opened a portal, or like a portal was opened to another dimension and brought goblins in, and she was like ruling over them. And this, she just made like nightmares. But nonetheless, like, yo, T, so you're talking about Cyclops, right? In that storyline, he is a douchebag, like a grade A douchebag. He basically hooks up with a woman who's human, but looks like Jean Grey, marries her, gets her pregnant, ditches the X-Men. And then when he gets a call saying, hey, by the way, we found Jean, she's alive, he bails on his pregnant wife. Like, and I mean like 9 months pregnant wife. Goes back together with Jean and forget about her. The cartoon decided to not do that to him.
Regular fuckboy. Okay, I got it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Mutant
But
fuckboy.
the interesting thing, so my one complaint about this series is that it still has elements of, like, basically the villains are still very Saturday morning cartoon. Like, for example, Mr. Sinister was nothing but like, I'm an evil man doing an evil plan. When really, like, the whole reason he wanted Nate Gray was not only so he could rule over like a new brand of mutants, but also he wanted the ultimate weapon to kill his master, Apocalypse. That's why he was so desperate to get Nate. They didn't really follow that up at all in this episode. And also, it was Apocalypse who actually infected Nate with the virus because he's like, oh shit, this child is going to kill me one day because he's Sinister's secret weapon and he's with the X-Men. So, like, I like that nuance because that nuance was actually very interesting. And also, it would show Sinister as more as like a desperate figure who is just like trying to keep his own agenda, but also trying to get free of his master. That kind of was all thrown out the window, which I was kind of sad about. But ultimately, these are like nitpicks. I'm still very happy with what I'm seeing, and also the power usage is dope. Like you were saying, we finally got to see Storm go Omega level power use. Magneto, who's also an Omega level power user, also like he's doing some shit. Like, and him and Storm doing like a combo was dope. I also liked him and Jean and Madeline Pryor fight.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I'm a little bit naive with the comics. Well, excuse me, very naive with the comics. Whereas, like, I know characters, I don't know storylines other than like what you've told me in passing. But like, automatically when like they dipped the baby in, I was like, oh, like they're setting up for Cable, and I'm like,
yeah,
like I like being on that end and not knowing like. I didn't know about the whole Sinister thing. Like, I mean, like the way you explained it is really cool, but I don't know. It didn't really bother me. Like, I've been enjoying the show as a whole overall, like just being naive and just kind of taking it for what it is, because I'm none the wiser when it comes to any of the lore, really. So I feel like a kid again.
Exactly. So as someone who doesn't know the lore, would you say that each episode has been fast-paced or has been well-paced?
I feel like it's been well-paced. I don't think anything has really been rushed, especially considering that they're coming off of the tails of the original series. So it's like that, like this is strictly for the fans, like, of the original show. Like, if you're like brand spanking new to X-Men, you know nothing about it, and you just decide to dive into this, you might be a little lost. Like, okay, what the heck is what's happening? Who are all these characters, right? Then in that regard, it might feel a little bit fast paced and a little bit jarring for you. But if you're somewhat well versed in these characters and you're familiar with the original stuff, and you kind of segue your way into it the way I did by like not watching the entire series, but like just getting the cliff notes and diving into this, I didn't feel lost. Maybe in the first episode where I was just kind of like, okay, like I got the fast like cliff notes, so they kind of just gave me like the most important details and trimmed the fat. So it took a little bit of time in the first episode for me to kind of be like, okay, like where we've established, okay, Professor X is gone, the X-Men are now doing their own thing, trying to kind of figure out their bearings and whatnot. And then by the second episode, or even by the end of the first episode, I was like kind of on board. I was like, okay, I'm following the story. I know what's going on, especially the way they ended it, with Magneto showing up. So yeah, I think the show so far is very well paced, and It's the storyline is pretty cohesive right now. I'm interested
Mhm.
to see what they do in the fourth episode and what this overall is leading up to. Because I mean, they've introduced this Sinister, Mr.
Yeah,
Sinister, but is he going to be like a main antagonist throughout the entire series, or like
it looks
what's
like so.
okay? So then, yeah, I'm still interested. I'm still on board with this, and I'm just curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, so the first season is going to be 10 episodes. And what worries me is I don't fear anything that's going to happen in this season, but like since the first that has been renewed for a second season already. Problem is there's a bit of drama behind the scenes because the head writer who wrote the first 3 episodes that we've all watched got fired.
Oh, is this a dude with the OnlyFans?
Okay, so there's nothing confirmed, but there are 3 theories as to why he was fired. One, they said he had an OnlyFans. However, they didn't say what kind of OnlyFans it was. But
Yeah,
like
but
I get
yeah, but usually when you have OnlyFans, you're like, yeah, you're not just writing X-Men, you're becoming X-rated. Like
yeah.
you just you doing some funky shit on there, yo. So
I guess if you're getting fired for it, then yes. The second thing is that he was another rumor was that he was a nightmare to work for, and that like he was causing like a toxic work environment.
Mm.
But then there's a third one that's like a little bit more defensive of him, saying that he was sick and tired of being told what to do, and like he was constantly fighting with execs to keep like quality as opposed to doing more actiony sort of stuff because he
Mm.
wanted to include more quote unquote aspects of minority groups because the first 3 episodes have all talked on multiple levels and in a lot of very profound ways about difficulties that we are facing. Like the second episode discussed how oppressed individuals grow to become the oppressors later on,
Mhm.
and that has a lot of like socio-political ramifications on today's political specter.
Mhm.
They've also referenced like the Friends of Humanity, which is like the Ku Klux Klan, and also behaving like the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis. They also have the January 6th insurrection referenced, and also like United Nations, not supporting those who are being oppressed. Like there's a lot of things that they're putting out there. So like they're saying that he was fired because he put too many of those things on there and it was causing a lot of backlash. So we don't know why he was let go or why he left or why whatever. We just know that he's no longer going to be in season 2, which worries me because I'm like, yo, we're getting some prime cut right now.
Yeah, I agree. And what I'll say to that is one, we've been spoiled because we didn't deserve to have this come back.
No,
We really did it. You know,
we didn't earn it.
yeah, we didn't. I don't feel like we've earned it, and it was gifted to us. So even if it's just one season, you know what? It's chef's kiss right there. You know, if it has to end, I'm I'll be saddened because it's like I just this is what happens all the time. I jump on board to a show, I get really invested in it, and then the next season it's canceled. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't trust anything I watch anymore.
Well, it won't be canceled because I think right now it's like it's been renewed for 2 more seasons.
Yeah, but if what you're telling me in terms of your concerns
The
actually comes to
quality.
yeah, like if it comes to fruition, then it might as well be canceled.
I hear that. I definitely hear that.
Because you can't set the bar so high after having coming back from a show that actually was considered phenomenal back then.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, to now like tank after the first season.
I have a question for you. So I know. So given the fact that you weren't a huge X-Men fan, does that mean that the opening title theme didn't hit hard for you when you saw it for the first time?
I'll be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to it until you brought it up. And then I was like, oh, so that means that it's within the MCU then. Like all of that stuff is connected. So like if they do what's it called? What if, like a what if series? Like
I
will
don't
that
mean
be
I don't mean that I don't mean that part. I mean the opening theme. Like
Oh,
when
the opening. Oh, got you. Okay, yeah, no. That obviously I was like, I thought they had just reused the original, but then I'm like, oh wait, it's new animation and it's the same. Oh shit. And I guess the only thing that was different is they added Morph and Magneto into
and Bishop.
but yeah, yes, you're right. Um yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, it hit home on all the like what okay, even though I wasn't like a big fan of the show, like that theme song and that opening is classic, timeless. I don't know any like whenever you hear like everyone knows that tune, right? It's almost as iconic as like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme. You know what I mean? Like everybody
Yeah.
knows
And
that
Batman theme.
And Batman, yeah, of course. So yeah, that hit me in the feels for sure. Watching that again, I like even though like I'll still watch the full theme. Like like they have the skip button.
When they say intro, skip intro, I'm like, fuck
you. Yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm probably gonna watch this. So yeah, so I enjoyed it.
All right, so one final question before we move on because we need to like eventually jump on to our next thing. Right now, X-Men 97 is getting a lot of criticism for being too woke. What are your thoughts on this?
This is just the time that we live in right now, bro. Everything is too woke. Everything is like sometimes when people say it's too woke, it sometimes it's accurate, and I can understand where they're coming from when they say that, because we now live in an era where like things are very yeah, things are very different. We have to watch what we say. Like everything is like very like sensitive nowadays. But in terms of this show, and you and I have discussed this already as well, where it's like, I feel like people missed the mark on like what this show is all about in terms of what it represents. I mean, Magneto and Professor Xavier are based off of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. I mean, those are prolific figures in our history before the term woke was even like deemed a word. So it's like, what are you talking about? Like,
what did you think the show was about?
Yeah, like this show is emphasizing racism and
sexism and also marginalization and also like gays and like the freaking legacy virus that was killing mutants.
Yeah, it's
AIDS.
Yeah, so I think to see it from the other side, like to see it from a different perspective, I think that if you were a fan of this show back in the day, you probably weren't watching it with all of those things in mind. You were just like, oh, mutants, this is a crazy show, fighting, oh, I'm in. Like that's like I know for me, I didn't know that all of that represented all of that stuff. But then as you get older and you have more of an appreciation for these things and you start to look deeper and you have a different perspective and you're looking at things from a different lens, you start to kind of understand what a lot of what the writers or the producers of this show are trying to convey. And they're trying to, when society can sometimes like they beat certain messages over your head to the point where you're like, it's so jarring to you, and you're just like, I don't want to pay attention to this. This is too much, right? It's like
too heavy-handed.
It's too heavy-handed, right? But when you put it in a different medium, it kind of resonates a little bit more. And like, say what you will about Dave Chappelle, but I think like to use him as an example in terms of his stand-up, I think yes, he definitely like walks a thin line in a lot of his comedy, but I think a lot of the messaging that him or some of the other comics, right, that they're talking about, the subject matter that they're talking about, when they put it in a humorous context, especially with the Dave Chappelle show, where he was talking about a lot of like deep-rooted issues, making fun of a lot of different things. but creating a conversation out of it where it's just like, okay, well, you're laughing at these things, but why are you laughing at this? And then you start to dig deeper into it, and you're like, oh shit, this is actually a serious problem, right? A problem that you probably weren't paying attention to before, because every time that problem was presented to you, it was presented to you in a very serious and like very like assertive way that kind of like is very jarring to you. You're just like, I can't take
Also
this. Right?
confrontational, even.
Confrontational, yeah, I think that's a better word. Thank you. So I feel like when you have shows like this that really go beyond just the like mindless action tropes, right? And they actually have like strong subject matter where it's like you as a kid you watch it for the action, but as an adult you go back, you revisit some of these shows and you watch it with a different lens, and you start to have a newfound appreciation. You have a deeper understanding of like what the messaging is actually trying to convey. And I think a lot of people who say, "Oh, it's too woke now," they totally missed. They never grew up. They kept that youth brain, and they never took in the actual message. And they're just like, "I just want to see mindless action." And it's like, nah, the show was always much deeper than that. It's just the action was there to kind of like spoon feed the message to you in a way that is like more welcoming, as opposed to being very confrontational, like you said so eloquently. So
last question. Did you have a problem with Gambit's midriff?
What do you mean?
You know, in the basketball scene when when they were in the kitchen and Gambit was cooking and he had a midriff. Did that bother you?
Not at all. I wasn't even paying attention to that shit, man.
That has been a huge topic online.
Okay. I know
people are like, why are you making Gambit gay now? I was like, did you see his costume back in the 90s?
Yeah, I mean, all those costumes are gay, man. Like, if we're being like yellow spandex, like, bruh, come on.
I would say that like all of those outfits were not stereotypical masculine outfits. Like you said, Wolverine were like, I would say like Scott had a yellow underwear.
Yeah, bro. Like, nah,
Beast was the only man of that because he just had a Speedo.
I mean, that could be considered a little bit like, I'm like, yo, just wear the boxers, bro. Like, why your pants so tight? Why is your Speedo so tight, bro? But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not. This is all jokes. We're not like
but like I do find it hilarious that is what pissed off everyone in the first episode. I was like,
I know a big thing too was the supposed change with Morph and how he's
he now is like
gender neutral.
Yeah, I'm like, out of everyone, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm like, the dude can morph into like his name is Morph. What did you think was gonna happen with that character?
Though, given what we've learned about Mystique and Nightcrawler, I'm wondering, can Morph get pregnant?
Yeah, because so when he morphs into somebody, he can actually use their powers.
Only if they're like superficial. Like he can't use their powers per se, but like let's say for example, their ability has a wing, his body can like replicate the wing. But at the same time,
he can't fly.
Apparently so. So like Morph's powers is like they seem like he can replicate portions of the X gene, just not entirely, which is like, for example, he can't like do optic blasts like Scott. Mm-hmm. But like any like physiological mutations he can do.
So technically he could do Wolverine's claws?
And he did. Just not adamantium.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so to your question, I wonder if he could get pregnant.
That's what I'm saying. Because like it is part of a female body that he's replicating. Yo, him and Mystique. Mystique should turn into a dude, and like he should turn into a woman. Actually, they should switch spots, and then see if he get pregnant.
Bro, people would lose their mind. What you talking about? Like woke? Yo, like people would lose their shit if that ever happened.
You know that's right. All right. We are going to move on to our next topic. Moving on to our final review. which is going to be what we've discussed already a little bit before. We are going to review Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. So I'm gonna jump ahead and give my review first. I will say I will give this movie a solid 5.8 out of 10.
It's a lot higher than I thought you'd give it.
It was enjoyable-ish. I wasn't going to this movie expecting a outstanding performance. I should rephrase. An outstanding script with like nuance and anything like that. Like this was meant to be an action movie. On that note, I have, I guess you could say, some old-fashioned views of what an action movie should be. And I will say that this 80% covered what I was hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed because the fight sequences that I was hoping would be very intricate and well choreographed and impressive to watch, while having a very unique style of like a camera angle, I didn't appreciate the CGI inclusion. For me, that felt like a cheap shot and a waste of talent.
Cheap shot. Nice pun.
You know that's right. Also, I found the female lead to be frustrating as hell. Like, she was literally just a plot point that made no sense whatsoever. So was her father. The sheriff also made no sense whatsoever.
Oh, man.
I was like, okay. And then next scene, I'm like, okay. And then third scene, I'm like, what? And then his last scene, I'm like, what?
I was like, yeah. I was like, what are you doing, bro? To the side. What's happening right now?
He was just all over the place.
Why are you
randomly? Yeah, and also, why is it like his daughter also was like? I guess it runs in the family because she was like giving him attitude for no reason, and then she was like all up in his business, and he's like, "Yo, girl, chill." And then she's like, "Yo, I don't care what you've done." And then at the end, she's like, "Yo, I care what you did. You need to go." Yeah. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, it's messy.
Yes. Also, it felt like he was going to be like Jake Gyllenhaal was like mentoring people, which was a cool thing. I liked seeing him kind of like for the things that people can't handle, he steps in, but like he's training them to handle for themselves, and I like that. Also, let's just say I like Jake Gyllenhaal in this. Like he was dope. Everything that he did was like you could tell he put in some input on like what his characterization would be. Mm-hmm. Conor McGregor, let me just say I know nothing of Conor McGregor except for what I've seen in this film. I'm assuming he is a big time UFC fighter.
Yeah.
But that's about all. Watching him clearly making fun of himself, but to what degree, I don't know. But like he seems like he is doing a parody version of himself, which I find endearing. Also, my man was thoroughly happily to just walk bare ass down a street and like just bend over for no apparent reason. I find him to be entertaining. I wouldn't say I'm going to start casting him in a whole bunch of stuff, but I found him entertaining, which frustrated me when his fight with Jake Gyllenhaal started becoming less of a fight and more of a camera worked CGI reinforced fight sequence. But overall, I would say that this movie was fun, just stupid at times, and not the action I would have preferred to see personally. Also, I didn't understand why. Oh my god, his name just popped out of my head. He's a singer, and he was in the. He was
Post Malone.
Post Malone. Watching Post Malone, I was like, "Is that Post Malone?" And I was like, "I can't tell if that's Post Malone." And then at the end, I'm like, "Oh my god, that's Post Malone!" The whole time, I was like, "Is Post Malone a fighter, or is he just like wanting to be in this movie?" Like, so like, nonetheless, I guess that was like just in there. But like for me, I would say that I was a bit disappointed with this film, but not enough not to continue watching it and finishing it.
Mhm.
So I would give it I keep like a 5.8 out of 10.
That's fair. Question. Did you see the original?
I did not.
Interesting. I'd be actually interested to see what you think. Now, having watched the remake, I'd be interested to see what you think of the original in comparison. Because,
Okay.
actually, I did a brief review on Facebook, and Shiba actually commented, and we were talking about it briefly. Um, because I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Old Boy.
I
It's
am.
like it originally was a Korean, I believe it was Korean, a Korean film.
Yeah.
But then Spike Lee had did a remake of it. And so me and my partner, we ended up watching the remake first, really liked it. The remake was with Josh Brolin, right? And we really
Yes.
enjoyed it. We liked it a lot. And then we watched the original, which everyone was raving about. Like everyone was just like, this is like the best, probably the best like Korean film ever. And we watched it and we actually really enjoyed it, but we were glad that we watched the remake first just to kind of get the context. Because like there are certain things that kind of dragged in the original for us. And I felt like Spike Lee kind of trimmed a lot of the fat and kind of kept a
Gotcha.
lot. But I think a lot of people didn't really like the remake because they had watched the original first and then watched the remake, and it's just like it just
Okay.
didn't hold up. So I'd be interested because considering now, like we for us, we did the remake and then we did the original. It'd be
Right.
interesting to see if you get a newfound appreciation for the remake, having watched the original Roadhouse now.
Okay. I'll actually I'll take that challenge.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Like the remake isn't. I mean, it's revered as like a great film, like great action bro film.
You're talking about
Uh,
Old Boy.
so no. Roadhouse.
The original, you mean?
The original, right? Like there's a lot of dudes that like love that movie.
Right.
Uh, I kind of felt like it was similar to like when I watched Top Gun for the first time,
Okay.
the original Top Gun, and then I was kind of like, I don't really get what the hype is. So yeah, but what? So before I give my, oh shoot, I think I'm frozen, bro. Can you still see me?
Yes, I can, you're frozen, but I can still hear you.
Okay. So what before I get into my whole thing, what is your overall opinion on remakes? Because I know a lot of people are not really all for the remakes. So like what's your whole view on it?
I, I think that we're doing too many remakes, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I love UTF-66 saying "frozen like Elsa." Just let it go, man. Just let it go. Uh, I will say that for me, remakes are happening far too often. They are also. I can understand the need to like. I think the whole and also going back to Frozen, like the animation to live action is kind of doing it to death as opposed to taking older beloved films and bringing them to the forefront, bringing them to the modern day. I haven't seen as many good remakes, and like maybe that's just because I've been watching all the wrong ones. But like there are some good ones. Like for example, Ocean's 11. That's a good remake. Um A Star is Born actually is a fantastic remake, and that film has been made like multiple times. So I think that's another really good one. There are of course like remakes of films from like you're saying like from different countries like Korean films and so on and so forth. Um, I'm struggling to remember other ones right now that aren't Disney related, but I would say that for me, remakes are kind of just being done too much, and also they're being done in more of a flashy sort of way. I think if people are going to be serious about making them, they should at least make them in a way that they are actually telling something important of the modern day that like has changed. Like Roadhouse, for example, like moving it from a like again, I haven't watched the original, but like I do understand that it was more of a like kung fu based action film, and this moved into a more UFC style action film. Which I think that if they actually gave a proper script and also more character development on like the side characters and also the love interest and also basically everything else other than Jake Gyllenhaal himself, it could have been a very rewarding remake. But for
sorry, man.
I'm not gonna lie, I was stretching out that explanation.
I saw you, bro. I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna just milk this for a while.
Yeah.
Watch this guy sweat.
I'm like, all right, talk to myself. Just to keep talking to myself. Don't worry, you're by yourself. So anyway, I would say that like I think remakes need to have a reason, not just be done.
Okay, fair.
So yeah, before your internet cuts out again, what was your rating of the 2024 Roadhouse movie, and what were your thoughts?
So watching the trailer, I was super hyped for this. I was like, this is a fantastic trailer. It's giving me everything that I feel like I need in an action film. I can't remember the last time I saw a really good like action film on this level. So going into this, I was super excited. I was hyped. Both me and my girl, we were like we were ready, and then we watched it, and I'll give my rating now before I goes into the pros and cons. 5.9. The trailer
you and I are the same.
Yeah, it like the trailer is the trailer gives a lot of expectation, sets the bar really high, and it delivers on the action, but the storyline. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like when you're going into a Roadhouse, if you're familiar with the original, then you're not going in really for the story. But I just
agreed. But but like if we have that mindset and we still are complaining about the story,
yeah, you're kind of just like, this is just a Fast and the Furious type of movie. And I think at this point I needed to watch this in 4D to really, really enjoy this. So yeah, it was a 5.9.
Especially the ending.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of things, because this shit goes off the rails quick. Okay, so first I'll lead in with the good, and I'll be the first to say I don't have any issues with remakes. I think certain movies are untouchable. Like I don't want to see another Home Alone movie, even though they kept trying to do one. Like I just don't need to see another one of those.
Nope.
So yeah, so I'm not really like, I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, remakes shouldn't be made or whatever. But I agree with Umar in the sense that like there has to be a reason behind them, and I think remakes can be good in the sense of like if a movie hasn't been done or hasn't like it has been done like years ago, like Roadhouse, for example, that was made in the 80s, and you want to reintroduce people to like modernize it and reintroduce people who hadn't heard of Roadhouse or didn't even know what it is. Did I freeze again? Oh, okay, good. Then I think Roadhouse is I think remakes are a great opportunity to bring people into that world again and have to revisit that world in a very unique way, right? Because now a lot of people are probably going to go back and watch the original, right? That hadn't seen it before, like yourself, Umar.
Yeah.
So okay, so the good of this movie. Okay, Jake. Let's just keep it real. Jake, he is a phenomenal actor. He's probably in my top 5 favorite actors. Like I'll watch anything that he's in. Really, I've seen a lot of his movies. Not all of them great, but he, regardless of the script, will always deliver a fantastic performance, and he does. And he committed to the role clearly because you could see it in his physique, but also in his acting. You know, he completely bodied the role.
Did you see Brokeback Mountain?
That's the only one I haven't seen, and no. Okay, so okay, I'll admit, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but I was one of those people that was like, oh, 2 guys, you know, in love and everything. Like I wasn't comfortable with my manhood at the time.
We were young.
We were young. We were stupid. You know, I think watching that now, I can have an appreciation for it.
I think it'll knock your socks off, man.
Yeah, probably. It's just funny that you're you're recommending this movie to me. Like, well, we won't get into that, but like, yeah. Anyway, we're moving on. So yeah, Jake, he bodies the role. Conor McGregor, say what you will about him. He's not a great actor, but considering the role that he had to play, it looked like he was having fun. And you know, it
was infectious.
I enjoyed his performance, and like he was basically just showing up for a paycheck. And you know, what was good is that you got his expertise on set in terms of like the fighting, which was really good. So he got to share a lot of his input, which was great because he is an actual fighter. Yeah. So I think it definitely added a certain level to the fighting performance, and that really paid off. The final fight I really enjoyed between Jake and Conor. There is no throat ripping, and you won't understand that reference, Umar, until you watch the original. But it's still delivered. I still had a good time with the fight. The final fight between those two guys, it paid off for me. I was satisfied. It gave me what I wanted. That's it for the good. So the bad.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I liked Mo.
Who? Oh, he's the funny biker guy, right?
the nice guy, really.
Yeah. He was great. I found him to be fantastic.
Like literally every scene, he was cracking me up. He's like, it's like 25 minutes away. It's like, it's like, yo, man, thanks for this. And also, my favorite is like, yo, man, I'm leaving. These guys are assholes. No one's nice to me. And I'm like,
thanks for not inducing violence on me. So yeah, he was great. He was good for a laugh. Okay, so the bad. I was not into the love story at all.
That was terrible. She was terrible.
She's not a terrible actress.
No, she's not terrible. They wrote her terribly.
Yeah, it's just like they didn't give her a lot to do. And I just wasn't buying into the love story. It just kind of, it's pretty flat, which is unfortunate because they're both great actors. It's just like, there's only so much.
I was actually surprised.
Yeah.
And her dad is also a good actor too.
Yeah. The next one is like there's a lot of empty threads in this movie that don't really go anywhere. Like they set up certain things and then you're just kind of like, it's like it becomes an afterthought.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why is that even relevant? Like you're not going to do anything with that. And then there's also a missed opportunity to include a particular character from the original. I thought he was going to come back and play the dad in prison that they mentioned several times, but never show him on screen. And you're just like, well, what was the point of that? Like,
yep.
So that was kind of, yeah. And then the sheriff, like Umar mentioned, is a fucking joke. Like, I don't know why he's in this movie. It waste of time. The villains are pretty forgettable and like comical at times, like aside from Conor, but Conor is not really, he doesn't show up until like midway through the movie. And then it's kind of like his only his purpose, he doesn't really have much of a purpose other than to like
destroy everything.
Yeah. It's just like, there's not really a big motive. So it's kind of like, even though he's great in what he's doing,
Did you notice that Paxton was in the movie?
Who?
From Never Have I Ever, Paxton.
Yes, I did notice that.
I didn't notice until the end. Like basically when he died, I was like, wait, what? When did he show up? And like my partner was like, he's been there the whole time. I was like,
yeah. So the villains aren't very menacing in this. But you know who is menacing? And this is kind of, I don't know if it's so much of a con, but it's kind of like, it kind of took me out of the movie for a minute because it was like, so Umar, you're gonna know exactly the scene I'm talking about. Jake is supposed to leave.
Oh yeah,
and he decides not to leave, and then he does something that is completely out of pocket and not a character for him. Where I'm like, yo, you just went from Dalton to Dahmer. What the fuck is going on? Like,
yes, And
Like,
the thing is, they don't address it again. I'm like, so we
yeah.
just gonna leave that alone?
Yeah, I'm like, yo, you just straight murdered a guy, and like you're acting like it's okay. But all right, like,
And that, like, there's some, like, that's gonna leave, like, make, and also, like, that's why Mo was scared for his life, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was scared for Mo. I was like, yo, man, don't do that. You don't need to do that.
And then the refrigerator scene, like, I'm like, okay, what kind of movie are we watching now? And then you think it's gonna end there, and then
Yeah,
the whole police, like when he gets to the cop, and I'm like, okay, he's a straight up psychopath now. I feel I have to root for Connor now because I'm like, what's happening right now? So that
it went like it was like all over the place, and you're like, so okay. And the thing was that they didn't play it off like it was like a morally gray area that, like, you know, or even that, like, this is someone, like, the degradation of the hero. It was like, no, he had to do those things. I'm like,
but did he though?
He didn't know.
No.
Like, he didn't know.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of took me out of the movie, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm watching Nightcrawler 2.
Yeah.
Like what happened? So yeah, still just debating on whether or not that's a con for me or not, because that was just kind of like, because
if they did it well, it would have been a positive for me.
Yeah. So just to give you context, in the original, he basically, he's hired. It's similar, but they changed a lot of things in the remake. Where it's like in the original, Dalton is hired at the bar to clean up shop and basically weed out all of the crooked guys, like even the crooked bouncers that are stealing and, like, you know, doing shady dealings and stuff like that, and just to fix up the place, right? And so there's one scene in particular where he's mentoring all of the bouncers that work at it's not called the Roadhouse, it's called a different bar name or whatever, right? They just changed it for the remake for some reason. But he's mentoring the bouncers, and he basically is just like, I have a rule: be nice. If you have to escort somebody out of the bar, be nice. If you have to do whatever, always be nice until it's no longer an option to be nice. So if they had that scene and then he did what he did in the film, it would have still been a little bit jarring, but it would have landed, because it would have been like,
it would have made more sense.
Yeah, because, like, be nice until you can't be nice. So I'm like, oh, okay, you didn't have to go the full 100.
He was being polite, which was kind of like surprising, but then, like, it's not explained why he went psycho killer afterwards.
Yeah, and then they kept doubling down on it, and I'm like, you guys, I don't know, man, you missed the mark with the original. So yeah, and then the fights, the boat.
Oh no, sorry, the fights. Okay, the fights.
So I agree. The CGI, like, I get what they were trying to do. Like, they try to do a stylistic thing where they try to involve, like, it's almost like you're in the fight with the two fighters, which is good in theory, but it's almost like shaky cam, where it's like shaky cam is good in theory until you actually put it into practice, and you're like, no, this is nauseating. I don't want to see this. And it looked like a lot of the CGI looked like a PlayStation 2 video game.
Yes.
Like a lot of the times. And
that's what pissed me off. I'm like, come on, guys, you got whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes it worked, and then other times it was just kind of very,
I would say very rarely did it work. Like 8 times out of 10 it didn't work.
Yeah. So overall, like I said, I gave it a 5.9 out of 10. If, like, put it this way, if you can, I said this in my review on Facebook, but if you can watch a Fast and the Furious movie, minus Fast 9, if you can watch a Fast and Furious movie without rolling your eyes every 5 minutes like this guy, then you'll probably have a good time watching this. There'll be enough there for you to sit through the whole thing and be like, I had a good time, but it's not something I'm going to really remember a month from now. You know what I mean? That aside, like, if you are diehard or like fan of the original, you're probably going to fucking hate this. I'll just be honest with you. I watched the original first, and then I watched this. I'm not a diehard fan of the original because I didn't watch it in its prime when it came out.
Right.
So yeah, I found the original okay, and then I found this one entertaining. So I like them both. The original, I feel like I'd give it maybe a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
So it doesn't win by much, but there's a lot more cohesiveness there.
Fair enough.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So those, I guess, take what you take from our review regarding the Roadhouse. I'm not sure if this has dissuaded you from watching it or intrigued you to watch it. Nonetheless, please do leave a comment on our on this review page to let us know what you thought of both X-Men 97 and Roadhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So until we are going to be signing off now, so hopefully we'll see you all next week. But let me pass it to you, T, for our final remarks.
All right. Well, we want to thank you guys once again, as always, wherever you're watching, wherever you're tuning in, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube. We just enjoy all the love and support that you guys have been giving us over the last little while that we've been doing this. So continue to do that by liking, favorite, and subscribing to our channel. Tell your friends about us because it helps the algorithm. And we are definitely trying to grow this channel. So please, please, please keep watching, keep liking, leave comments because that also helps the algorithm as well. But until then, we are the Geeky Bros. I'm your boy Tactics.
And this is Big Geek Umar. Live long and prosper, y'all. Happy long weekend and happy Easter.
Oh, yeah. Happy Easter, guys. Have a safe holiday. All right.
Yes. Happy holidays, y'all. Or happy Easter holiday.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.